Turn with me, if you would, to Matthew chapter 2. And I want to read verses 1 through 11 this morning. 1 through 11. The Bible tells us, now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen the star in the east, and we are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and the scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not thee the least among the princes of Judah? For out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child. And when you have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. And when they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they had saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary and his mother. And they fell down, and they worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. As we look at these scriptures this morning, we see the three wise men. I want to kind of think about it. Let's think about them for a few minutes this morning. They were indeed wise men, and they traveled something like 2 years in advance to try to get to where Jesus was being born. And evidently they thought that he would be born in Jerusalem, for that was the place where kings and other people of high royalty were to be born. But Jesus came to Bethlehem, which was the smallest province and probably the poorest, who we talked about in Sunday school this morning, in the countryside there. So Jesus came for the poor. He came for everybody. Nobody's left out. He came not wrapped in a robe. He didn't come wrapped in or come into a king's palace or whatever. But these men were wise because they knew that Jesus was coming, and they knew what area he was coming to, and King Herod didn't even know it. The people weren't looking for Jesus, but the wise men were. And you know, today wise people still seek Jesus Christ. If you got any wisdom, you're going to seek the Lord. That's the first thing you're going to do. Because he is our everything this morning. Without him, we have nothing. You know, many songs we sing at Christmas, as we go to Bethlehem this morning and see the scriptures, many songs we sing at Christmas are reminders that Christmas time is supposed to be happy. Would you think so? It's supposed to be happy. Songs like it's the most wonderful time of the year, have a holly jolly Christmas, chestnuts roasting on an open fire, jingle bells, and walking in the winter wonderland, all communicate that Christmas time is to be joyous, trouble-free season. We don't find it to be that way a lot of times. For some, it's a very depressing time of the year. They've lost loved ones. For those who don't have the money to buy the gifts that the children are hollering out for, it's kind of depressing. So we have to look to the right place this morning to be enthused and get back into what Christmas is all about. So I don't know where the church went wrong. You know, we celebrate our traditional Christmas, with Santa Claus and all that. But Jesus Christ is our Santa Claus. Jesus Christ is the one that makes the gifts possible for Santa Claus to bring. Okay, I can't put it in, switch that around much, because we got some. But anyway, what I'm saying this morning is that they were wise because they had read where this king was supposed to be born and when he would come. And God had gave them some kind of star or galaxy system or something to follow to get to where they thought he should be. And even they thought he should have been born in Jerusalem because that's where they went first instead of Bethlehem. But when they realized their mistake and they started looking back up, they saw that star or galaxy, whatever it was that had been leading them, was a little further away than where they were at. But I want to ask you this morning honestly, is that what you are experiencing this season? Are you having a holly jolly Christmas? Are you full of joy and enthusiasm? Really, get down in your own minds and hearts this morning and answer that question to yourself. Is it really meaningful to you? Are you anticipating it? Are you looking forward to it? Are you looking forward to get it over with and get into New Year's? I don't know. People, I think the turkey's the one that got forgot. Because just as soon as they eat the turkey, the Christmas tree goes up. But it seems like somehow or the other, the church has let the world influence what Christmas is all about. Because we get into the world, we get full of anxieties, we get full of fears, we get into the negativism, and we can't do that. We have to get into the enthusiastic, positive part of Jesus Christ. Because it causes us to look at things different than we normally would. Probably not. For some of you, personal problems are keeping you from experiencing the joy of season. For others, you feel like one crisis after another has run you over. With such an avalanche of problems, it's hard to have a holly jolly Christmas, isn't it? I kind of think about the ones out there that are sick, shut in, can't get out, lost loved ones. I can see where it would be hard for them to celebrate Christmas, in a holly jolly festivity mood. I can see that. And you probably can too. And it would really be Christmas if we could attend to their needs instead of worrying about ours during Christmas. If we could go see one of them, or, me and my wife, we used to take 3 families, we'd pick every Christmas, and we carried them, I don't know whether it was a monetary gift or whether it was what, but we made sure that we got to their house and we represented Christ, and that we gave it to them and told them why we gave it to them, and we were concerned about them, and we loved the Lord, and the Lord blessed us so much we wanted to bless them. And it gave me one of the most blessed feelings I've ever had in my life when they hugged my neck and I walked out of that house. It didn't matter to me whether I got anything or not. I got something then that money couldn't buy. Praise God. But Christmas is, think about it. Some of you are so busy and working so hard that there's no time for sitting around and fire roasting chestnuts. I've never roasted any anyway. I wouldn't even know what they look like except to show them on television. Something the deer eat, I reckon, with the squirrels. But I don't know if I've ever eaten a chestnut. Maybe you have. But somewhere or the other it came to being in all this that we celebrate. Well, maybe there's not anything really wrong, but for some reason you're just not enjoying Christmas. I've heard person after person tell me, this don't seem like Christmas. And then when you get discussing it with them, they give you a reason why they don't feel like it's Christmas. Some will tell you, well, it isn't snowing. Or, well, you can have that one, because I don't care if it snows or not. I don't like snow, and I'll be the first to tell you, but God gave it to us, and we, when people enjoy it, love it. I did when I was a child, but not now. I'll sit by the fireplace, roasting some of them chestnuts or whatever they are. I'm not good at missing that. But anyway, it just don't seem like Christmas. It's not providing the emotional lift that you expected. In fact, it's almost depressing. The world does not look like a winter wonderland. It just looks like winter. All these songs are singing, and they started the first day of December to start with. And as far as that goes, it started during Thanksgiving. All the sales and all the songs and all this, that, and the other. It's like we're being pushed in a direction, that really hadn't got into our system yet, and so forth, and what we're doing. But anyway, the world does not look like a wonderland. It just looks like winter. Disillusions at Christmas is not an unusual thing. You get so hyped up with the expectations about what Christmas is supposed to be that often the real thing doesn't measure up and you get disappointed. And that's the case most of the time. We get wrapped up in the world about how many presents we got to get, how much money we got to spend, and all that stuff, and forget, that God will provide. I remember some of the best presents I ever got were handmade by somebody who I really loved. or something was given to me that somebody put something into besides money. Can you all think of anything like that's ever happened to you? And they were most appreciated because I knew there was real love behind all that. It took some time, you know. Anyway, what can you do this Christmas to avoid disillusion? How can you improve your level of joy this Christmas? The answer is found in the story of the 3 wise men in Matthew chapter 2, which we just read. The wise men from the east saw a star to indicate the birth of a new king in Israel. Wanting to honor him with gifts, they set out on a journey following the star to find this newborn king. From the attitudes of these wise men and the events that surrounded their journey, we see how we can raise our level of joy at Christmas. So we want to think about that as we travel back to Bethlehem. And think about these wise men and what they did and how they went about doing it and so forth. There are 3 lessons we learn from this story in Matthew that I just read. What do you seek? What do you seek this Christmas? What do you really want this Christmas? What do you seek in Christmas? Think about it. Because that begins the journey. That begins the journey to find what you're seeking. Your level of joy at Christmas is directly related to what you seek. Think about it. Ask the question, what is it I want to get out of Christmas? What do I want Christmas to mean to me? How do I want to enjoy Christmas? What is it that would make your Christmas wonderful and satisfying? Would snow make you happy and satisfied? Not me. All the family together and happy? Would that make you satisfied? Possibly. A feeling you define as a holiday spirit, finding the right present to give, is that what you seek? Getting the present you define as a holiday spirit. Find the right present to give. Getting the present you have been hoping for. The problem with all these is that they can leave you disappointed. What happens if you go into a store and that doll baby that everybody wanted a while back, I don't know, I'm not going to bring it up again, old Cabbage Patch doll is ugly. But anyway, I'm not going into that this morning. But people fighting, I saw an ad on TV the other day where they were throwing towels everywhere. Even a Reebok store did you all see that on television where they'd open the door and people come in so fast they just threw the boxes everywhere and they couldn't even keep up with what was going on? That's crazy. That's not Christmas. They had their mind on the sale and get something before somebody else got it. Well, that's not giving. Giving is better than receiving, but they were thinking about receiving. They did all this. I can't believe it when I see that stuff happen. Brothers and sisters, have you ever had that kind of experience when you were disappointed by Christmas because it did not deliver to you what you thought it would? I've had Christmases like that. I've had Christmases where the family got together and for some reason somebody got in an argument with somebody and it didn't turn out. You know, it happens. The problem is not Christmas. It is our expectations. We are looking for the wrong thing. The wise men show us how to increase our level of joy at Christmas by looking for the right thing. What was it they were looking for? They were looking for the Messiah. They were looking for Jesus. And that's what Advent's all about, is we're looking for Jesus. We're looking to get into an inner, deeper meditation and communication with Him, and become more in the spirit of Christ. And we only do that when we seek Him. They came, what they were looking for, verse 2 tells us, they came to Jerusalem and said, "Where is He who had been born King of the Jews? For we have seen His star in the east, and we have come to worship Him." They not only came to see Him, they came to worship Him. And Advent's not just coming to church and going through the Advent and the sermons. It's actually worshiping Christ and thinking about how generous and how grateful, how wonderful, how long-suffering, how merciful our Savior is to us. Christmas should be every day of the year to us because He gives us, you want to know the truth about it, we're spoiled. We are spoiled. We have steak when we want it. We have pork chops when we want it. We have a warm house when we want it, for the most part. And we take those things for granted, not because we want to, but because we just don't reflect upon them. We're not looking in the right direction of where all those things come from and how we got them. But it says, for we have seen his star in the east, and we come to worship him. They were looking for Jesus. Christmas for them was an opportunity to worship Jesus. I don't know what Christmas it was, but I remember we had a Christmas one time, and I ended up giving my grandchildren, I can't remember if they remember or not, but I think we gave them one of these small pocket Bibles. Boy, that flew over to the side real quick. They went to the next toy. But I was thinking that was one of the best things that I could give them if they'd read it, you know. But I wanted to include the Lord in the Christmas. And kids being kids, they weren't old enough to really know about that, but they had something to look back to have later on when they got older, you know, to look to. They were looking for Jesus Christ. Christmas for them was an opportunity to worship Jesus. That is what we need to be looking for and expecting in this Christmas. An experience of worship, a fresh glimpse of who he was born as King of the Jews. If our goal this Christmas is to worship Jesus, then I doubt very seriously we will be dissatisfied with our experience. I believe the Lord will bless us and our families. You know, yes, family getting together and having a joyful, jolly good time and seeing some that you hadn't seen in a while, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. But we must always include the Lord in these celebrations, somehow, some way. Where do you look? Your level of joy of Christmas is directly related to where you look for Jesus. We learned from the wise men that they were wrong, that there are wrong and right places to look for Christmas. They started by looking in the wrong place. They looked in Jerusalem to start with, instead of Bethlehem. They looked where their own human reasoning said they should look. We do that sometimes. The star indicated the birth of a new king in Israel. The Magi, or the three wise men, went where kings should be born, as I said earlier, to the place of Herod the Great in the capital city of Jerusalem. But what a mistake that was. When Herod heard of the birth of the new king, he jealously sought to destroy him. He began to remember that there was supposed to be a king born that he had forgotten. We don't want to forget that our king is coming back. The scribes in Jerusalem said that according to the prophet Micah, the Messiah was to be born in Bethlehem. With their new information, they looked again at the star and followed it to Bethlehem until it stood over the house. Jesus was no longer in the manger. He was in a house where the child Jesus lived. Now we think about that. Are we looking for Jesus who is Jesus that just hands us everything we want and gives out presents just about a handful? Or is he a Jesus that gives us everything we need, including a whooping once in a while? You know, I think about that. Young folks don't know nothing about whipping no more, but I do. And they taught me, and I came up just fine and learned a whole lot. Not that I ever whipped one of my children. I learned a lesson. I knew how bad it hurt, but nevertheless, I thank Jesus for chastising us when we don't do what we're supposed to do, because that reminds us to get back where we need to be. So we need those things. Brothers and sisters, we too are tempted sometimes to look for Christmas in the wrong places. We think by getting or giving the right gift we will be satisfied. We imagine that being with the family will be joyful. All these can easily disappoint us. You may not be able to afford the right gift for a loved one, but family members may be missing from your holiday celebration. If you are looking to these things for joy, you may be left with a feeling of disillusionment. Earthly things do not satisfy. You may think they do, but if you think back, you've asked for a lot of things you wish you hadn't asked for after you got them. But they caused more of a problem than they did joy. The Magi looked in the right place when they looked to God. The trip to Jerusalem was not a total loss. But while they were there, they discovered where they should have looked in the first place, the Bible. The Bible. The scribes in Jerusalem said that according to the prophet Michael, the Messiah was to be born in Bethlehem. With this new information, they looked again at the star and they followed it to Bethlehem until they stood over the house where the child Jesus would live. Now, the third thing we want to learn. What do you give at Christmas? And who do you give it to? Your level of joy, your level of joy at Christmas is directly related to what you give and how you give it. The three kings came to Jesus' house bearing gifts. The gifts they gave were entirely appropriate. They were appropriate gifts. They were gifts that would do something, show something, and lift up and glorify God. We know what they were. The gifts they gave were entirely appropriate. They gave gold, a gift for a king. Gold, gift for a king. By giving it, they acknowledged that Jesus was and is the king, the true king. They gave frankincense, a gift for a priest. He is our high priest. This was incense the priests used in the temple. By giving it, they acknowledged that Jesus was a priest, the one who would bring us to God. They gave myrrh. And you say, what was myrrh? Myrrh is a gift for the dead. They knew he would die. Somehow, some way, they knew that he would die. And it's a gift for the dead. This was a fragrant ointment used to anoint a body before burial. By giving it, they acknowledged that Jesus had come to die for the sins of the world. We ought to give appropriate gifts this Christmas as well. Don't get me wrong, brothers and sisters. I'm not talking about material things. I'm talking about more important things. We ought to give a gift of our love and our kindness to our friends and family. We ought to give a gift of our help to those who are hurting. It shouldn't be based on a certain toy or a certain coffee pot or a certain this, that, and the other. It's the way you present the gift and the love you put into the gift that matters. You know, to be honest with you, most gifts we give have already been duplicated in the years past, and they go in the closet and end up in the yard sales. True. If I get any more ties, I'm going to have to put them in another closet. I don't like to make a lot of choices. When you got so many, sometimes, it's hard to do. But anyway, going on. We ought to give the gift of our help to those who are hurting. Think about that. We ought to give the gift of forgiveness to those who have hurt us. That would be a good gift to give. Giving these kinds of gifts will result in a joyous and a meaningful Christmas. In conclusion this morning, and I'm going to conclude it. What are you giving for Christmas this year? Now, probably some of you might say, well, I haven't even got there yet to figure it out. I, for one, haven't done any Christmas shopping. To be honest with you, I haven't made up my mind what I'm going to give them yet. I'd like to give some of them some reminders. But, I remember sending somebody some presents and never got a thank you card from them. But nevertheless, anyway, let's get back to the message. Why not consider giving yourself? Give your time to your family. I think that's something that all of us can do a little bit more of. I know I can. We can let a lot of things interfere with that. Everything can become a priority but our family. But we only walk this way once. And we need to leave a lasting impression upon those that we meet of who we were when we were here, how much we loved them and appreciated them, and what we did for them, and what Jesus did for us. Give compassion to the hurting. Give your forgiveness to the isolated, and give your heart to Jesus. You're here this morning and you haven't given your heart to Jesus. That's one of the greatest things you can do this Christmas. That's the most precious gift you can give. That's what He's looking for. I wonder how many of us gather around the Christmas tree before the presents are open and pray and thank the Lord for what we have and what He sent and how He's given us the means to get it by. You know? Think about it. Maybe you do. I'm just saying, I wonder how many in the world do that. If it weren't for Him, we wouldn't be celebrating Christmas. I promise you, when you look at the right thing, look in the right place, and give the right gift, you will have joy at Christmas. Think about the wise men. Wise men still seek Christ. And they seek Him sometimes. Look, you can be in a house that's dilapidated, and everybody see the air through it, no floor in it. And I remember Grandmama's house, she had a kitchen that you could actually see the chickens underneath the house. And it was cold too. That was a long, long, long time ago. But I remember that. But it don't make any difference. It was good to be at Grandma's. You know, I weren't there for the house. I weren't there for this. I was there to be with Grandma. I was glad. I was just good to be there to smell that old pot of Louisiana coffee on that wood stove. And think about that feather bed I could jump in, and that good old food that she fixed, the collars. I don't know, maybe it's I've got used to them, but I ain't need any better since she died. Put it that way. She could make some good collars. But what I'm trying to say this morning to you folks is honestly, seek Christ in your heart. Seek Christmas in your heart. Do what you can do. And don't let the devil put guilt upon you because you can't buy this particular present or buy that particular present. Give what you can give with love for the Lord and for whoever you're giving it to. And put a note in there. Don't just give a present and write their name on the outside of it. Put a little card in there and tell them how much you love them and appreciate them and wish you could have done more. But you give them that because Christ has blessed you with enough to do what you were doing. It'll mean a lot. They'll never forget it. So think about that this morning. As we're going to sing a hymn of invitation, we're going to give our piano player and Brother Rick time to come on up and sing a hymn of invitation. But ask yourself, are you satisfied with the Christmases that you have had? Or do you look for a better Christmas this year? Think about the wise men. They only brought 3 gifts, but all 3 of those gifts meant something. They meant something. They brought them a long ways, too.